while we are waiting for Mr. Kamath, let me tell you something which perhaps we will not talk when he's there. Our association with Mr. Kamath goes back to 1985, when a little fledgling training organization had a big dream and wanted to buy not one, which is what those days organizations used to do, buy one computer. It was like the Indigo of that many times, of those days, and said we want to buy 100 computers. And it was a difficult proposition. Mr. Wagul was the chairman of ICICF. He heard our proposal and he said, sounds like a good idea. Let me call somebody who's just returned from Asian Development Bank. And walked in Mr. Kamath. And he heard our story. And then he did whatever and came up with a solution of leasing computers. Because he said your cash flows are likely to be good. You don't have the capital to invest in the real the asset. And that was the beginning of our journey of working together. Much later, we realized that was also the first time ICICI did a leasing transaction. We also realized this is the first time in the country anybody did a leasing transaction. So that was the beginning of our association. And since then, the story has been only getting enriched, and the association has been only getting enriched. He's been a banker, obviously. We bank with ICICI as one of our banks, even till today, even though he's not there. He's been a partner. Okay. And he's also been a mentor. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my proud privilege to introduce Mr. K.V. Kamath to you, who's played a very active role as one of the most important pillars of the modernization of the Indian financial system. A banker by training, he lives up to the adage that good bankers, like good tea, are appreciated when they are in hot water. Mr. Kamath started his career with ICICI Limited in project finance. After a decade plus of successful stints in ICICI, he joined the Asian Development Bank. And I was telling you the story after he returned. Mr. Kamath returned to be the founder, managing director, and chief executive officer of ICICI Bank. He served as the first president after that of the new development bank set up by BRICS countries and led the bank from its founding 2015 to 2020. And once again, our paths crossed in Shanghai, where he was based. He now serves as the chairman of the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development, Government of India, and Geo Financial Services Limited. So through a continuous string of successes in leading multiple domestic and multilateral institutions, he has resolutely conveyed that the old maxim, a souffle never rises twice, does not exist in his lexicon. Being a strategic thinker and a charismatic leader, Mr. Kamath has also served as the non-executive chairman on the board of Infosys. He's been a president of CII, co-chair of the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, amongst others. He was conferred the Padma Bhushan, one of India's highest civilian honors in 2008, and this is just one of the many, many honors that he has been bestowed with. His wise counsel, cutting across all shades of political opinion, both nationally and overseas, is a testament to his professional acumen. At NIIT, we are very proud of our association with him over the last 4 decades. And thank you very much, Mr. Kamath, for being here with us this afternoon. We welcome you. So I will invite Raji to join me in the conversation that we are having with Mr. Kamath.
Kamath, thanks so much for finding the time. I know how busy you are. We would have loved to have had you here, but that I knew would be difficult. So thanks for agreeing to be with us. Now, you and I spoke about what format we should have, and Mr. Kamath was comfortable that we do it in the form of a question and answer. So we'll do it alternately, Mr. Kamath. I'll ask one, Vijay will ask one. And my first question is to you to say that we're talking about three things here. We're talking about leadership, we're talking of talent, and we're talking of technology. And I know you're an absolute exemplar of all these things, but how would you like to describe the relationship and the interplay between these three ideas of leadership, talent, and technology?
Delighted to be part of the program here. Am I audible?
Yeah, can you just turn on the volume full? Yeah.
Delighted to be a part of today's program, So I think the relationship is symbiotic. Symbiotic in the sense that I really cannot say which comes in which sequence. If you have to ask me, I think talent comes first. You need to make sure that there is enough talent in the organization. Then you overlay economy, you brand it to leadership. So that would be the sequence I would look for. Without that talent, the ability to put together the talent, and we fail. And I have several examples, and one key example is a partnership that we had with the NIIT, going back to 25 years now, 24 years. When we were starved for talent, even today I hear other people saying that we don't have the talent. We had the talent. Talent was required to start the front line as it were, relative to the fight. We know how to go about it. And we said that let's put all those learnings that we have onto a platform which you can we can offer to students. And that, I think, the quick order, we first year, producer will 5,000 or 6,000 fit and proper people to take the front over there, and then put it in front. First, then we overlay it into technology. And then, whatever you wanted to do in the leadership context, you do.
Mr. Kamath, you referred to the partnership you had with NIIT and also with Manipal and others. But one common thread that one has noticed in our long association is that you've always broken away from conventional wisdom. And there are some common threads we've noticed. One is this whole talent acquisition through a unique partnership where everybody was a winner. The student gets a job at ICICI Bank. ICICI gets a student with not having to spend time and energy on training them and getting them ready for first day. And your partner, NIIT or Manipal or others, starting off this business or getting into this activity and building a new line. Similarly, when you have deployment of technology, you've always believed in a rapid deployment of technology, but I noticed in a very frugal manner. I remember when all of us were bending backwards to get on to an office suite, simple thing like a Microsoft Office suite. You decided and took a different way of introducing a Google Office in ICICI, which was a big, very bold decision at that time. And similarly, I'm sure as you are deploying ERPs in your current organization, once again you are taking an out-of-ordinary step and a very bold one. So is there a common thread? Is there a playbook?
Yeah, I think the playbook is very simple. You need to approach extraordinary lens when you are extraordinary talent. So I will stay on the talent acquisition always for 2 minutes and then cover the technology aspect that you covered up until now. So the talent part, I explained one part which we worked with NIIT, and NIIT was very gracious to say that yes, people come out to educate themselves and we'll offer this, and we offer this as a partner. So that people understand it. It was a time when you could not get people to put on your front desk in the branch who were computer literate and you core banking. So there are two parts to the training. It's not just technology, core banking also needs. And it could be very quickly ramped up. So it was a win-win. There is no way we could have opened, say, 500 branches with 10 people each, but for what you did. So the speed that we wanted would have fallen on its flat, or fallen flat without this partnership. I want to explain that 1 minute on the Manipal experience also. But there again, sometimes you have to be bold. The Manipal experience was that we needed a branch manager and that level of people, the next level of people. They needed to be trained a little more. They needed to stay in a campus-like situation. So we worked on that with Manipal. And there it was interesting. The initial challenge I thought we would be facing is, where were these kids? Where do we get these kids who will, who have done a graduation and would join us, our priority, then go for a 1-year training, and then come back as a branch manager. So it's a very interesting dialogue I had with my head of HR, Mr. Ram Kumar. So I said, Ram, where are the people? So he said, sir, you are looking only at urban. There are people in rural India who don't have an opportunity, and that is what I want to tap into. I thought what he said had merit. So I told him, okay, Ram, I agree with you, but you will advertise only in vernacular papers, no English papers. He said, yes, agreed. Then I said, you will administer the test in the vernacular and English, pre-recruitment test, which we did. And I was very eagerly waiting for the results. He came back and said, maybe after 15 days or so, that these kids, we have got 20,000 kids, we had 100,000 applicants for 1,000 seats. And 20,000 out of them did better than the recruits that we do from some of the business schools. And of course, we were taking 1,000 of them. So I was, it was a learning experience for me. When you look deep, this country has abundant talent of very high quality, very high intellectual ability. We don't look deep enough. So I wanted to make that point because that's going to be a recurring theme as we go towards 2047 in the next 25 years or 23 years for us. There are no people. People are there. We need to see how to get them ready for what you want them to do. The technology part was very interesting. And of course, my approach to technology continues even today, the same approach. But at the beginning, I was really the 90s to technology solution. But before that, I will say that I figured out that you can do one technology on your own in 81 when we started the leasing division of ICS. I needed a computer. I had seen leasing done, quotations done using a computer in the UK when I was sent for training there. So I said I want a computer. So I put a desktop. It's a long story behind it, but I put a desktop. And then the desktop was basically, it came with, for those days, I think it was SuperCalc and something else, and a T-based thing. So you had a perfect example of the user, being the developer also, because the DevOps was in perfect sync. We just had floppy disk and we made it run. So that gave you the confidence that you could do things on your own. So 87, 88, we put in a lot of technology into ICS. Long story, so I won't go into it. But crunch time came when I came back to ICS in 1990 as CEO. And we said to ourselves that we can differentiate ourselves from what was a very difficult time for development banks by growing our retail bank. But before that, we need to make sure that technology is in place, new products are in place, particularly retail products, home loans, car loans, et al. All these things are in place and so on. And we need to do them at very low cost because we can't afford a mainframe. So that is very clear in our minds. So the speed in terms of technology and cost, I'll give you a dramatic example of it. So this is around 98 or so. So we thought that we will set up our own online share trading platform, which is today called ICICI Direct. So this is that vintage, 98 also. And I was given a timeline of 2 years and a budget of a few crores. But I didn't know better, so I said, okay, we give a down payment to start. So happened that a few days later I was in New York, and somebody asked me, would you like to attend a technology seminar? I said, what seminar? He said, these are all startups. So I said, I want to see them, because these guys bring product to market very quickly. So I want to go and see. So I went and sat in this seminar, which was all garage startups. So they were all presenting, and first I heard about 90 days. So they explained what was happening, and I said, 90 days from what to what? They said, from idea to market. You know, you do alpha testing, beta testing, and in the market. I said, but why the rush? The answer was very interesting. They said that we know when we have an idea, that 50 other people have the same idea. The first one gets to market and succeeds. So the mad rush. So then I asked them how do you build it, and they said, we don't code, we buy components, we assemble them, some technical stuff. I got back to Mumbai, same night I took a flight, next day morning I was in office. So I told the office that you remember that project that we are doing, ICSA Direct, we are now going to do it in 90 days. If our current vendor is not in a position to do it, we will still do it ourselves. But we have to do it in 90 days. And there was some give and take. Finally, we did it in 84 days at just a few lakhs. It was not crores anymore, just a few lakhs. So that explained, put in my mind that things are possible if you align interest and you are clear about what you want to do. So I'll give you the 90-day rule doesn't work just for the technology, it works for day-to-day thing also. Just a few months after this, maybe 3 or 4 months after this, ICICI Limited, the parent, was doing its New York Stock Exchange listing. We plan to do a New York Stock Exchange listing. And the merchant bankers, as we used to call investment bankers those days, gave me a timeline of 2 years. They said, we have to get your Indian accounts, to US GAAP accounts, and so on and so forth. So 2 years. I said, I don't have 2 years. I got maximum 3 months. And I want to do it in 3 months. And so some guy said, we can't do it. And I said, sorry, then I will work with somebody else. Everybody fell in line. So what we did was that we could see how this is done once we get out. So our ICICI headquarters was just inaugurated, commissioned at that time in Mumbai, Bandra Kurla. One of the conference rooms, I think we put 20 beds. We said we run 3 shifts. We had a kitchen in that particular floor. So we will serve you food throughout the day. So there will be a legal team, there will be an accounting team, and there will be other practitioners all working together, but in 3 shifts. The legal team came from the lawyers, not in-house team. The accounting team came from the auditors, and of course we had a in-house. So long story short, we found that by working this way, we have tremendous advantage. Because when, say, SEC is the agency which was regulated, which would have looked at the documentation, they would have a comment. They would give it at end of day US time. And we could see it opening our India time. By end of day India, it would be on the US SEC desk. So we had amazing speed in turnaround. And again, not 90 days. We had by the 80th day, we had listed ICICI Limited. We said, few months later, we listed ICICI Bank. The ICICI Bank, we listed in 63 days. So what I'm saying is that if you drive speed, you can do things which you thought were humanly impossible and get it, if you align interest and drive. And it applies for technology and non-tech. I think reference was also made to the current, in today's context, this is open territory today. Everything is, so I have a mantra today, for today. I say that technology, the technology context. I say, is it fit for us? So in Hindi, I'll say fit hai kya? Is the technology fit, appropriate for me or for us? The second is, laugh at this, don't laugh at this, free hai kya? Fit hai kya, free hai kya? So if it is fit and it is free, I put up my hand. By free, I don't mean exactly zero. It will be some, but it's a far call from the mainframe days or even from the days of small distributed processing that we were doing today in a cloud-based universe where we are having everything on a SaaS model, and it is implementable for large organizations or small organizations. I can say this that BRICS Bank, the entire architecture is open source, which we sourced ourselves. There was no consultant, and most of our technology selection, again, difficult to believe, but believe me, was sourced based on a simple Google search. Top 10 HR cloud-based platforms. Up comes a name called Bamboo HR. Okay, then you go to due diligence, you try it out. Words. What are they asking me? $5,000. And then how much is the variable I pay $10 per employee. So $5,000 means we have never had more than 200 employees. $2,000 my HR platform is. Then no SAP in my life. So because it's heavy, it's fit for purpose, but not for me. So you do the same question. Top 10 ERP platforms, cloud-based. Outcomes, top of the list, NetSuite. Because NetSuite is now part of Oracle. We can talk about Oracle separately. But NetSuite, just about $100,000 or what, and some implementable by ourselves, no consultants required, 12 modules including a training module, put it up and run. So in today's world, of course, you got the SaaS solution. We didn't have the SaaS. We have the SaaS solution, pay-per-use solution for the entire banking operation, entire NBFC operation. It is available today, which can basically drop into a system. So 90 days is alive and kicking, and I think, I don't want to say 45 days, probably 45 days is up there for the taking.
Amazing, amazing. I think some great lessons in that.
Now, you managed very different scale and size of financial institutions. The ICICI, a large system, to the bank when you were based in China, and now a startup in a sense into your finance. When we look at large financial institutions, they're endowed with a large number of skill sets which are relevant today. But I think the need for changing skill sets is very, it's an impending thing that needs to be done today. So you talked very interestingly of the role of leadership, that is your role, which you displayed in looking at technology very quickly. What would be an approach to prepare large organizations with skill sets of the current time to take them to the skill set of the future? What would be equivalent approaches to do it fast?
This is the type of collaboration that we had with you. And I'll explain now why. Because if I look deep around India, I don't think there are many institutions which are teaching the skill sets that we require today. And those skill sets are growing dramatically. So if you look at AI, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want an AI engineer who does, develops something. I want a practitioner who can apply AI to what. So I don't have people here today who can conceptualize where it could be used. I need those sort of skills to be taught by people like you. How to apply it, this is what I require, because somebody is going to run with the ball and develop the products. I don't want to use phraseology, I don't want to say, ChatGPT came, then Gen AI came, all those are jargon as far as I'm concerned. What I'm saying is that intelligent computing, which is productive, can be today applied in every business in a variety of ways. So we need to train the people who can understand this and then train people as to where is it in their lives, the companies that they are working in or operating, this could be applied. To me, that is what I'm looking for. And I can tell you this, based on my current experience here, that we're not finding anybody readily available. So we will have to go through to see which institutions might be preparing a few people, then work with them, or come to an NIIT and say, this is what we want, can you help us? How do we, but no company can avoid going through this learning curve. No company can avoid going through this learning curve, because this is going to be the future. And if you don't learn and don't skill yourself and you don't utilize these technologies, you are going to be uncompetitive in no time at all. So there is no option. You need to overlay this. But whatever you are doing, let's say you are doing the lowest possible application of technology in your business. Now you'll have to overlay the learning from AI onto this in your context and make it work for you. And I will repeat myself, skill set is not readily available outside in India, at least at this point in time. I was just now talking to a professor, a leading professor from the US, who was the dean of very large business schools. Says they now have a mandatory program in all these digital applications and so on in the schools in the US. But I think it is yet to come here. So we'll have to find our Indian solution, and which is probably much more cost effective and much more, we can scale at speed. That is work with an NIIT.
Mr. Kamath, you already referred to AI, and one of our questions was to do with what potential does it have, especially in the financial services industry. But I'll add one more to it. What are some similar breakthroughs that you are expecting in the future? And you always think ahead of time. So if I was to quote the book, The Mind of the Strategist, how is the mind of the strategist, Mr. Kamath, working as far as taking advantage of those breakthroughs?
You mentioned ChatGPT. Field is open. When you look deep into what we are doing, whether it is the way we run business or we run technology, there's a whole lot of things. Let me take a simple. We need to look at design thinking. Do any one of us do it? We don't. I can say that when I first had Vishal Sikka join the Infosys, the first thing he did was I said every single employee has to go through a program of design thinking. So everybody come back to one of your training hubs, whether it's Mysore 10,000 beds or wherever, and go through basic design thinking. So I think we need to get that for every one of our businesses. To some extent, in some areas, I'm using design thinking very crudely, but application of mind, we were forced to do because of COVID. So, my gut is that, but actually, if you look at the numbers out there, to the analysis of the numbers, Indian industry has had a 25% productivity gain post-COVID. You work with 75% people, but got 100% output, and in doing that, you got a 25% EBITDA jump. Now, EBITDA jump didn't come just by working with 75% of the people. It came because we did a whole lot of process change. So I think people have started thinking about in a rounded manner, but we need to do this in a much more rounded manner in every area of operations that we do. But you asked a specific question, what next? So I believe technology would be. To me, there are 2 or 3 areas which are still not used at all in India. For example, behavioral sciences, behavioral economics is not applied to. What I have in mind is what Kahneman wrote in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Each of the experiments have we used in our business. Each of them are going to give us enormous returns. So I would think that that book, which I think probably is the most valuable book I've ever read, bar none. And if I have to read only one book, that's the book I would read and apply. Would tell us what to do. And now we are thinking of neuroscience and cognitive abilities and how the whole neuroscience thing adds to this. So I think you overlay 3 things. Your mind thinks in a design manner. You put in the learnings of AI and all the things that have come with it. You overlay behavioral science into it, and you put neurological science. And you then have, and of course, you overlay all this, the new social universe that we have, the way we have social networks happening. I think this is what you'll have to be on top of, and you will spend virtually every day asking now, in my organization, who do you think is up to it? The answer is honestly nobody. So if I were to interview a digital marketing expert today, because that also will be overlaid into this, all he talks to me is saying, what is your budget and what is how is the performance marketing done? I'm not talking of performance marketing. My budget is you. I'm investing in you. Now tell me, how do I go about it? That's not happening. So we have, I think, a whole lot of, I would look at these as opportunities. And we will all get on top of these opportunities. But the first one out there, gets to great success. Like the 90-day rule, the first one who got the 90-day rule right, met with success.
So just one other dimension of talent that I think you did something unusual. Diversity before people were talking about that word. And all of us have seen the number of CEOs that came out of your team who are women, including the current SEBI chairperson, Madhavi. So on diversity, you have to go back many, many decades to see how you were thinking about it. So what is it that you had to do in terms of mandates, policy, rules, incentives to ensure that you could build a diverse leadership team which people are struggling to do? What are some tips? Because many people here are to do with talent, getting talent, building talent, but building...
We start with talent, but I had an advantage because Mr. Waghal before me had made sure that there are no biases in recruitment to the extent possible, and recruited a large number of women in the organization, whether they were business graduates or whether they were chartered accountants. So we had a fair talent pool. But what I found is there were three requisites. One, recruitment, and you have to have recruitment which is free of biases. Free of biases. By that I mean you should not role or identify this gender will do this role. So, so that is the first principle. And of course, I never use the phrase, I always use the phrase gender neutral. So all roles we believe can be done by either gender. So it's neutral. So you truly need to practice that. Then you need to have a very appropriate evaluation system. Neutral evaluation system. So your talent assessment and evaluation process has to be done. And we had to go through a lot to learn that. And a lot of people taught me what to do. And we were eager learners. So we learned to get a proper talent. This is by 1997. And thereafter, opportunities. And be sure that those opportunities are also gender neutral. So don't say that all women brands won't work in India. It will work. Why will it not work? Don't say that a branch may have run till 6 o'clock. That won't work in India. There are women. And I'll give you an example. I think by the time we did our merger with the ICICI Bank, we were very short of branches. We must have had some 200 or 300 branches. And the biggest bank out there had 10,000 branches there. And we were getting 50 licenses a year. I said it will take us 200 years. So we had to put the technology in, so we put 1,000 ATMs in the first year. And that's another topic that I can talk. But we said the branches that we have will be more productive. So we said we'll run the branch 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 2 shifts. Contiguous shifts, 2 shifts. And we said branch will be only a front office. Everything else goes to the back office. So accounting, because by then technology had come, we had the internet, we had the platforms and so on. We took them out. But people in the branch ran 8 to 8. Again, same problem. Oh, but women shouldn't work here. I said, ask the women. Ask the women whether they want to work. We have a neutral opportunity. We have an opportunity to work. And your growth will happen based on how you work. We had no problem. We didn't even have to ask that question. Women joined. In fact, if somebody from at home told it would always happen that there would be an elder at home who call one of my colleagues, Mrs. Mukte, who was a joint managing director, and tell her, not very gently, that either my daughter or my daughter-in-law is coming home at 10 or 10:30. So Mrs. Gupte would counsel them and say, I'll talk to the lady concerned, call the lady, be very gentle with her and ask. Always, the reaction that she would tell me that came from the professional lady was, who are they to tell me? So, and of course, now we had a different counseling that had been done. We don't want family problems. But we never found our women leaders, saying that, we need to have certain privileges. Never. And they looked at it as neutral. And that's why they rose up the organization. So each one of them rose up the organization. We were neutral with them in terms of what they did. We were neutral with them in also letting them take a shot at subjects they never worked in before. Take Kalpana Morkare, for example, was a lawyer and a project lawyer. And one fine day we said that you need to learn pledging. She wasn't happy about it. I said, but look, this is where the opportunity is. Job is there and I wanted to do it. I think you are fit for it. She took it and look at the marvelous job she did. To head, JP Morgan in India and so on. So I think there are several such examples of women leaders. And to their credit, I must say that they all think laterally, which is much more laterally than men, because a lot of times they have to multitask in a much more significant way than men do, and they do it without talking about it. So to me, it was a huge plus to have a gender-neutral organization, and to me, they made it happen by not having biases. And of course, we have to make sure that there are no biases in the organizational processes as well.
Last question. You mentioned, I think, when we were chatting, that one practice that you have, and I don't know since how long, is that before you sleep every night, you have to watch YouTube for 15 or 20 minutes. I'm sure there are many other such best practices, so share one or two more, because I found this very interesting and intriguing.
In this case, it's an
I think
expert.
all facilitated by. I don't read books. As I said, Kahneman was probably the last book I read, and I'm thankful that I did. I might have missed some else. But most of my learnings come from Google, came from Google, and came from connecting dots, came from reading up about people. So if there's somebody who comes to see me, or I always immediately will Google the person, try to understand as much as possible, get a picture of the person. So you gather knowledge as you go, which you then stitch into something meaningful. And of course, technology trends. Again, Google is what I read up everything. Something new comes up, I will look into it as to what it is and understand it and go deep into the site. So it could be anything. I find today YouTube does it in a much more elegant way, because Google, I have to search here, it throws up at you. So you just put one keyword and there are 25 different things in various contexts that come up. And it could be a range of things. So it need not be looking at technology every day. It could be looking at technology, it could be looking at leisure, it could be looking at travel and so on. So to me, it's a way of learning, and at the end of the day, switching off. So you are switched off 10 minutes. So for example, just now I'm looking up the bond between animals and people. That was just, I was just curious. Why is it that the young people today have a pet? I don't have a pet. Why is it that young people have a pet? So I started looking up, and you see the relationship. And I've now learned, after 77 years, that these are highly intelligent beings. A pet is only when you observe them at close quarters. And you realize that you have missed out something in your whole life. And so there is a meaning why somebody is adopting a pet or keeping a pet. I think I wish them good luck. That gives them joy, that gives them a lot of probably a peace of mind at the end of the day. So I watch this and I learn. And it also gives me peace of mind. So might have been music, it might be technology, might be travel. So you would see today the number of people who are Indians who are traveling around the world. It's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. Just creating a video. I don't call them influencers. They are posting their experiences. And they are doing a good job in 15-20 minutes of giving you a glimpse. I'm well traveled, but these guys have traveled to places that I haven't been to. And you spend half an hour on this, and you are a much better informed person than what you would have been otherwise. So to me, today, maybe in course of time something else will pop up. But YouTube for a little more than half an hour, maybe an hour and a half, educates you, gets into a no-brain situation where you are just relaxing and then you go to sleep.
So as I was saying, there isn't a polar who combines leadership in terms of setting goals, breaking norms, creating new ideas. A. B. Just see the comfort of technology, leveraging technology to its hilt. And then, of course, the curiosity which drives his perpetually improving level of talent. Thank you so much, Mr. Kamath. It was extremely useful. Yeah, please.
Study. I must salute you for what you have done. You guys are finding a different order. And I do not know whether the audience knows this. You are not only finance, you took diploma from the global. And I sent you a message to ask whether you are still in China. That is the reason. I remember very early going to China. And I've been in China from 1988. 88 and then 2019. After 96, we regularly, and of course, ICICI had an office there, and of course, then I lived 5 years. But I'm talking about that period. I'm talking about when you were set up. I just found that. I was not on the trip. And the greatest curiosity is where is the answer? Can I have? The other question was because in Shanghai, these two companies are known to be. One company probably because of what they were doing in the software business, other for having set up shop there and training young people in what is technology of tomorrow for them at that point of time. All I'm trying to say is we were there before China happened. China had not happened, and I'm delighted that you guys continue to be there. And I wish you very well in everything that you do. This pioneering journey should not come to an end. Thank you.
Thank you so much.